Hi everyone, my name is Berta Issa. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for supporting this event. I'm Berta Issa. I'm the managing director and founder of Inga. Inga is a consulting and business development company in Angola. So I'm from Angola. And our company focuses in two main areas. We are talking about skill enhancement and creation of economic foundation for our continent. I was invited to talk today about education and gender inequality when culture, tradition is a factor of exclusion. This is a topic that is so essential to our society. It's so essential for our society to function that I feel so honored to talk about this. So I'm going to start by asking, what is tradition? Because tradition, according to people, is a factor of exclusion in African societies. So, what is tradition? Tradition is the passing of beliefs, customs, behaviors from generation to generation. So, tradition is a learned behavior. So, how does this learned behavior affect us? And it is African tradition. It is an African tradition to exclude gender based on gender. So I know that according to Hollywood and the narrative, African societies are one of the most inequality and exclusion. Do you guys believe that is true? That this is true? And how does our history support this evidence? So this is what we're going to be talking about today. Let's start by our history. What is African tradition? And while I'm talking to you, I'm going to be looking at my notes, and because I wanted to make sure that I would pass the right message about what is taught that it is African tradition. So, what are the evidence that we have through history? That we are a society that excludes women. So, in the past, African society was structurally differently. I have analyzed the role of women in society, and I found so many evidence that women were instrumental to shaping African society. I will talk about three women that were amazing. Let me start with Rainha Inga. She was a queen in Angola, and she was recognized as a great military strategist, diplomat, and visionary. Under her ruling as a queen, when we are talking about 37 years, she also demonstrated a great economic vision, developing Matanda region, a region in Angola, a region in a commercial state and platform for Central Africa. During that time, while she was developing this region, she was dealing with the Portuguese in an equal footing. In our history, we also have the example of Tontoya. She was a trained female soldier from Benin. She trained Jean-Jacques Dessalines in the art of war. Dessalines went to become the general that freed Haiti in 1804, the only successful rebellion of slaves against the foreign. General Dessalines, even today, in today military school, is recognized as a great strategist. I can also talk about Sally Belair, which husband was Charlie Belair, a general. Sally Belair was such a great African soldier with a strategic mind that she was in charge of selecting the men that would go to war. So historical facts give an idea how African society was structured in parity between men and women. We were structurally differently. So, once again, tradition is a learned behavior. So, what has changed? If we were, as an African woman, as an African society, we were a balanced society, what has changed? What has changed is the foreign powers. Given the role of women in the revolutions, women they were perceived as security threats. So foreign powers in the continent decided to limit men education and exclude women from society. They exclude women from society for political and economic gains. How does that imposed structure affect on society even today? Today, this imposed structure have caused an uneven or biased education in our continent. 1/4 of women between ages of 15 to 24 will not finish primary school. 2/3 of illiteracy people are women in our continent. Also, there is lack of an employment equality. Women are not given the same opportunity when it comes to jobs. Political underrepresentation is also one of the effects of the way we change our society. Where in the past we had women involved in the political decisions, today that involvement has decreased, although it's been increasing over the years, but still it has decreased. We don't have in our continent, we do have, but the legal protections when it comes to women also was a fact by the way we change our structures, our societies. But above all, and most importantly, our societal mindset. That was the thing that was most affected when foreign powers came into our continent. Nevertheless, although we see these effects, because the way we are structured and the way we more and more we've seen women being educated and having access to information, today, out of the 20 head of states in the world, 5 are African women. 2 are African descended women. We're talking about, sorry, let me correct. Out of the 20 head of states, we have 4 African women and 2 African descended women. We are talking about Namibia, Togo, Gabon, and Ethiopia, and African descendants, Barbados, Trinidad, and Tobago. Also, if we look for the women around the world that preside House of Parliament, we have 56 women presiding House of Parliament. Out of this number, 20 are Africans or African descendants. We have 15 African women presiding House of Parliament and 5 African descendants. We are talking about a percentage of 36% in the world. This percentage is the highest in terms of race representation. Also, when we look at the top 20 countries out of 192, with the greatest representation of women in national parliaments, we'll find 5 African countries, namely Rwanda, South Africa, Senegal, Namibia, Mozambique. So we're talking about 1/4 of 1/4 of the top 20 countries in the world with the greatest representation are African. Being Rwanda, the country with the highest representation. So these are facts that we don't listen often in the news, but this tells us about sufficiently where we come from. Tell us about this. This shows traces of our structure, the way we were structured in the past. So, how can we, change the way our African societies are today, to resemble the society that we had, in the past, before being influenced, being imposed different behaviors, different customs. So we can change our society by unlearning the behaviors that we've learned. And how do we do that? By applying gender equality at home and at school. It's important from an early age that children, at schools, they look at society in a balanced way. They look at society, to a society where women and men are valued equally. There should not be an under evaluation of women and over evaluation of men. And this starts at school. Also at home, I have here a note that it is important that women, we can't forget our responsibilities. We are raising our boys, and what are we teach them? This is what I have as a note, I remember a couple of years ago that reading on the internet that women, they represent 52% of the population, and they are the mothers of the rest of the population. So we women have a responsibility in creating a more gender balanced society. Also, it is important that we change the narrative of our continent. We cannot keep portraying our continent and our society as an unequal society and a society that excludes women. No, this is not our African roots. How do we change our narrative? It's cultural. It's in the music that we create, the movies that we produce, the medias. We need to start showing more gender balanced, images in the medias, in news, in the news, in talk shows, debate shows, make it something that is normal. Also, it's important for governments and institutions start investing in African history. We don't have as many books, that talks about the true story, the true history of Africans. We have African history told by foreign countries, not our countries. For most of the story talks about Africa as slaves. Our narrative starts when we were slaves. No, there was great societies before the trade slaves, So it's important to invest on the history of our continent, of our societies. And last but not least, society change. We need to change our mindset, the society as a whole, because together we are stronger, Only once we as a society start seeing that men and women working together, we are going to be able to achieve our missions, our goals, as as a developed continent. It's when the world will start seeing the true potential of Africans. And trust me, people, we have amazing human capital in this continent that didn't have yet the chance to be shown to the world. So this is all that I have to say about my team, that is education, gender inequality, when tradition is a factor of exclusion. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.